The first snow of December drifted lazily past the window of the cafe, painting the morning in quiet white. The little shop sat at the edge of a cobblestone street in a small New England town, the kind of place where people still greeted each other by name, and the smell of roasted beans felt like comfort itself. Clara Whitmore, 28, ran her hands over the counter, aligning the sugar jars and napkins just so. She wasn't really a perfectionist, she just liked things in order. After all, when her world had felt messy 3 years ago, the cafe had been her anchor. Her late grandmother had left it to her, and Clara had poured her heart into keeping it alive. Every morning she opened the doors at 7 sharp. And every morning at 7:10, like clockwork, a man came in, same table by the window, same quiet smile. His name was Ethan Hale. He was a writer, or at least that's what he told her once, in his soft-spoken way. He'd sit by the frosted glass with a notebook, order a black coffee, and sometimes stare out the window longer than he actually wrote. For months, Clara had watched him. The way his brow furrowed when he searched for the right word. The way his fingers tapped the table like a soft metronome when he thought. They never talked much, but their glances said everything that words didn't. One morning, after the town's annual winter fair, Ethan didn't come in. Nor the next day, or the next week. His table stayed empty, and Clara told herself not to wonder. Maybe he was traveling, maybe he'd finished his book and moved on. Still, she found herself wiping the same spotless table every day, just in case. 2 months later, on a rainy February afternoon, the door chimed, and there he was. Drenched, carrying a bouquet of small white lilies, his smile both shy and apologetic. "Hi, Clara," he said softly. Her heart leapt. It was the first time he'd ever said her name out loud. I didn't mean to disappear. My father got sick. I had to go home for a while." Clara felt the air in her chest ease. "I'm so sorry," she said. "How is he?" "He's getting better, and I thought I owed you a coffee." He handed her the flowers, a little awkwardly. "You once said lilies remind you of your grandmother." Clara froze. She hadn't remembered telling him that. Maybe she'd said it while refilling his cup one morning, in one of those half-conversations that happen between strangers who want to know more. "Thank you," she whispered, her throat tight. Ethan smiled again, his eyes warm. "Can I sit by the window?" "Always," she said. That became their new beginning. Some mornings, when business was slow, Clara would sit across from him, her apron dusted with flour. He'd read bits of what he was writing, a story about a woman who rebuilt her grandmother's bakery by the sea. "It sounds familiar," she teased once. He grinned. "Maybe I was inspired by a cafe owner I know." Weeks passed into spring. The cafe bloomed with potted lavender, and Clara realized something strange. She was laughing again. She hadn't done that freely in years. They started walking home together in the evenings, down the same cobblestone street where lamplight spilled like honey. They talked about everything, childhood dreams, favorite books, the ways life surprises you when you least expect it. Ethan told her that writing wasn't about making something perfect, it was about finding truth in the mess. Clara told him that love was the same way. One night, as they stood outside her door, the world soft with spring rain, Ethan hesitated. "You know," he said, "every story I write has a moment where the main character realizes home isn't a place, it's a person." Clara smiled, her voice barely above a whisper. "And have you written that moment yet?" He looked at her for a long second, then reached out and brushed a raindrop from her cheek. "I think I just did." Years later, Willow's Corner Cafe had 2 names on its sign, Clara and Ethan's Coffee House. Every morning, before the first customer arrived, they sat by the window, sipping coffee in silence. Not because there was nothing to say, but because they'd learned the quiet could hold everything that words couldn't. And every so often, when the first snow began to fall, Clara would glance up at the window, remembering that first winter, when a quiet stranger walked into her life and made it feel warm again.